As I said, there are new reports that the U.S. Supreme Court's historic decision on the president's health care law may be creating problems for Democrats out on the campaign trail. Some of President Obama's supporters want to kind of avoid the rowdy health care debate that dominated the 2010 midterm elections when Republicans, you may recall, won big time in Congress. David Hawkings, editor of CQ Roll Call's daily briefing. You know, those reticent Democrats, David, probably recall how the anger over the health care law in 2010 led to what turned out to be the worst midterm defeat of a president's party since 1928. What are the chances the same thing could happen in 2012 as a consequence of the high court's ruling?
Well, there are a couple of chances, but in part because of a quirk in the congressional schedule, there are really only two senators, Claire McCaskill of Missouri and John Tester of Montana. Those two senators voted for the health care overhaul, and they are the two who are in the tightest battles for re-election right now. When we talk about the Republicans having a chance to pick up the 3 or 4 seats that they would need to take over the Senate, we're really only talking about those two at the moment who are incredibly vulnerable to defeat. The rest of the projected pickups come from retirements. There are a couple of others, Nelson of Florida, Brown of Ohio. They're somewhat potentially vulnerable, but really at the moment, those are the two we're watching most.
Sure.
And those two, as you're alluding to, have shied very much away in the last week of really saying anything all that newsworthy about their reaction to the court.
McCaskill's not even going to the convention in North Carolina. But look, the flip side here, and I want to be fair about this to the White House and the President, his signature achievement has been vindicated, at least constitutionally. And conservative columnist Peggy Noonan wrote this about it, and I'll quote, "For the first time in months, the President looks like he's on the up-a-lator, not the down-a-lator." She invented those words, but we get it. This may mark a turning point for the president's listless, directionless campaign. The snake-bit White House has for once found a serum. What do you think? Could the imprimatur of the Supremes reverse the direction of the president's campaign?
I think it could. What it does do is it gives the president sort of a reset button to hit. They admit, I think that they do admit, that they really haven't done a very good job of selling what they view as this law's benefits to the public because of this wait until the Supreme Court decided. Now I think you can look to see that the president will say at almost every campaign stop from here on out, here are the things that this law is going to give many Americans. He's going to emphasize that kids can stay on their parents' plans till they're 26. He's going to emphasize that you can't discriminate against an insurance customer because of pre-existing conditions. He's going to talk about free medical preventive care for women. Those kind of widely popular things is what he will emphasize. They really haven't sold the benefits too much, and he'll say, imagine how much worse things would be if it hadn't been for this law. So he's sort of got a fresh start to sell it.
You know, but this is not a law, David, that has become more popular and acceptable over time. Take a look at our Fox News poll. We're going to put it up on the screen. That just came out on the eve of the ruling, the night before. 60% think the mandate is a violation of individual rights. That includes 9 in 10 Republicans. And this is the important part. 2/3 of independents think so as well, that it's a violation of individual rights. David, might this drive those moderates, those independents that are always the key to any election, into the red column?
Certainly could. Those are interesting statistics, to be sure, really interesting numbers. I still do wonder how the Obama administration sort of let the messaging war slip over the last 2 years. Clearly, the opponents of the law have done a very good job, really a terrific job, of mounting their arguments, of explaining their arguments, of selling their arguments to the public. You talk to people who consider themselves independents all the time, and they are much more likely to explain their view the way the opponents of the law would like to have them explain it. So maybe it's too late. I don't know. We've only got, what have we got, 21 weeks left before the election? And maybe it's too late to get them to flip it around. I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's going to be a long 4 months. But look, an important part of the Supreme Court decision, obviously, the linchpin of it all, is that the High Court said this is actually a tax. It's not a penalty. It's a tax.
Right.
Which, of course, belies President Obama's claim that it's absolutely not a tax. Those are his words. Republicans are already, David, blaming him for what they call the biggest tax increase in history. They say it's going to be hitting the middle class the most. If that is sort of a slogan that hits, how important could that be?
Very, very important. I think you're pointing to really where this debate is headed. I think that the Republicans really feel like Chief Justice Roberts, who they're, of course, furious with and surprised at, may have handed them sort of a Trojan horse victory here, and that hidden in that very unpleasant decision is the cudgel that the Republicans can really use between now and the election. You're going to hear tax, tax, tax over and over again. You're not going to hear the phrase individual mandate out of Republicans anymore again. They're going to talk about a tax.
Right.
Rand Paul, the Libertarian senator, is already talking about this as the Stamp Act of the 21st century, which, of course, the Stamp Act is what led to the Boston Tea Party. This is going to be their line from here on out, and if it sticks, then the president's going to have a problem.
Yeah, and Pelosi won't even answer the question if it's a tax. And Jay Carney, the White House press secretary, said, no, it's still not a tax. Well, the Supreme Court has said it's a tax. But look, there's something else that Chief Justice Roberts did. He wrote a couple of things that could be interpreted as very critical of the president and the Democrats who passed this law. I want to put that up on the screen. This was one of his swipes. It is not our job to protect the people from the consequences of their political choices. And elsewhere, he went on to refer to political leaders who can be thrown out of office if the people disagree with them, as if he was endorsing that notion. That is, David, going to be in a Republican ad near you sometime real soon, isn't it?
I think it probably already is. We just haven't seen them. We haven't seen them out there in Montana or Missouri yet. Absolutely, this will be a quote that the president's opponents will show us time and time again. The Chief Justice's whole approach to this is fascinating. Of course, you've probably talked about this, that there's some evidence. If you read the opinion very closely, it sure looks as though the Chief Justice was actually writing a decision to join with the dissenters in the end, not with the majority, that he actually sort of switched his mind at the end, and that this very tart line about not my job to protect the people from who they elect sort of might have been part of his move there at the end.
Yeah, could have been. Of course, you know, we love to read things into things in the Supreme Court decisions, and
he's going to an island in Malta to get away from us. He's going to go teach a course in an island fortress in the middle of the Mediterranean. So we'll never get to talk to him about it this summer.
Yeah, that got a big laugh when he said, "I'm going into hiding." No kidding. All right, David Hawkings, great to see you. Thanks.